Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to After the Buzzer, where the Heat just lost at the buzzer to the Washington Wizards in Game 82. Wizards take it 119-118 on a incredibly tough Bub Carrington floater, runner, flip shot, whatever you want to call it. Dropped in high off the glass over two defenders as the clock expired. It's Miami's 17th loss this season by 5 points or less. The outcome, of course, didn't really matter. Every single team in the Eastern Conference was already locked into their playoff spot. But still, the Heat had come back. They hadn't led for much of the second half. They had come back, got some threes, got a ton of shots at the rim, 76 points in the paint. Great game by Jaquez Jr., who we'll talk about in a moment. But then a turnover and over and back violation on the inbounds with, just not much time on the clock. And then the Wizards, with under 5 seconds to go, Carrington takes it all the way for the win. The Heat didn't play most of their regulars. The regulars who did played limited minutes for the most part. They all played well. Davion Mitchell and Ware had a great start to this game. Ton of lobs. The Wizards played a lot of their young guys that have been playing all year. They played Alex Sarr. They played Carrington. They played, a lot of guys who had been in their rotation all year. So they didn't just end their season. They ended their season playing their guys and playing to win, and they earned it at the end. Let's talk about Jaime. Really great game. 41 points on just 25 shots. Games like this, you aren't going to prove very much. Everybody knows the deal. It's game 82. The Wizards are about to have their season end completely. The Heat have much more important things on the docket with the play-in game coming against Chicago, the season on the line, but still there's stuff you can accomplish, from a developmental perspective. Guys like Kashad Johnson and Josh Christopher, they get some real burn tonight after not really getting much all season long. And they don't get to prove anything, but they get to show you the promise that they have. Josh Christopher as a kind of an on-ball creator. Kashad Johnson, who, he hit some threes tonight. Unbelievable athlete finishing at the rim. Great cutter. Eric Spoelstra talked after the game as they really like Kashad as a switch defender. Both of them are early in their kind of 3-year Heat developmental process, where by year 2 you try and get some actual rotation minutes. By year 3, if everything's going well, you get into the rotation for good. That's where undrafted second-round guys that's the track they've been on in the past. We'll see where they go next year, but games like this are really nice just to get them on the court. But back to Jaime, he was 12 of 12 at the rim. The only career high 41 points, by the way. His previous career high was 31, I think. And the only player in the league this season to have more points at the rim, more makes at the rim, is Giannis Antetokounmpo. So there's Giannis with 12, 13 makes at the rim, depending on what database you use. And then there's Jaime with 12, 11. So it's pretty much as good as it gets finishing at the rim. But we also know Jaime can do that. That is the thing he's always been able to do, hard charging, shoulders first, get in space with his physicality, finishing at the cup. We know he can do that. It's about, down the line, rounding out his game with the jumper, with the counters when guys come in, because, Spo reminded everybody, he saved me from really having to do it, which is against good teams, it's not always going to look like this. Good teams are going to actually rotate second, third defenders into the paint when you're driving, whereas the Wizards, this was not a big defensive game. The Wizards just kind of played one-on-one coverage. Jaime was able to overpower a lot of Washington's younger guys. So that's why he's getting to the rim so often. But still, Jaime made his point. He has this really high-level NBA skill to get to the rim. Just got to find a way to fill in all around it. It hasn't been the season that he's wanted, probably, because he's been in and out of the rotation. He's lost a lot of his minutes as of late. It's just tough when the jumper hasn't been there, because NBA spacing is premium. It's elite. It's above all for everybody. And especially when you're playing a lot of bigs like Miami is with Bam and Kalel, you got to have the jumper working. So he's got time. Young guys, you can afford them a down year. You can afford them time to develop. But for now, it's nice to see Jaime have a good game. only other thing really from this one that I wanted to point out quickly is that Ware and Washington's number 2 pick, Alex Sarr, there's a little something brewing there. Not necessarily animosity or anything, but there's a healthy competitive rivalry coming along. We said it a couple weeks ago where whenever Bam Adebayo and Jaren Jackson Jr. of Memphis get on the court together, those two are always going at each other in some way or another. And it's not like those guys are talking a lot in the media or really building up this one-on-one duel, this rivalry. But when they get on the court, you can feel it. You can see it. Those guys are guys that compete for Defensive Player of the Year every year. They compete for all defensive spots. Somewhat similar games and styles and roles, especially as guys who can switch, big men who can switch. So Ware and Sarr, there's maybe something there that could develop as the years go on. The talent is obviously there, and the talent has to be there for these things, to kind of remain interesting, for rivalries to become something that's more than a niche thing. But if they keep developing, and Sarr is obviously very talented too, and we've seen a lot of what Ware can do throughout the year, well, Washington's in Miami's division. Those guys are going to be seeing each other 4 times a year for the foreseeable future. We'll see what develops. But years down the road, it's not hard to see there being a really fun 2-week playoff series between these two teams. And then you just get to see Ware and Sarr go at it over and over and over again. And that's where you get real interpersonal rivalries, especially at the same position, same spot, same age. Again, just like Bam and JJJ, guys who are going to be competing for similar awards. It's all fun. That's about the competitive nature of the game. Hopefully we see more of that. Now this game is over. 82 games. That's done with. That's a whole regular season in the books. On to Chicago on Wednesday. The season on the line for the chance to play another game with the season on the line, depending on who loses between Atlanta and Orlando. Winner of that second game goes on to play Cleveland, the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, in the first round. And look, Chicago beat Miami every time this season, 3 times. But all those games were close. None of them were blowouts. Chicago, they weren't 1 or 2 or 3-point games like, today against the Wizards or anything like that, but they were close at the end. Miami had decent leads in all of them as well. Chicago showed an ability to come back. Chicago showed an ability to score in transition and at the rim. Josh Giddey and Kobe White have each posed issues in the past. Nikola Vucevic is very solid in the middle. Chicago's wings, Montas Buzelis, the rookie, has been very impressive over the past few months. So Chicago's not a team to take lightly. Miami has obviously ousted Chicago in the play-in tournament before. So there's some history here in the play-in tournament. We will see how it goes, but it's one or done. You get one chance to move on, one chance to keep your season alive. It's all about Wednesday from now on. And for now, this has been After the Buzzer. I am your host, Couper Moorhead. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you in the play-in tournament when we will have an After the Buzzer after every game from here on out. Thanks very much. Take care.